We're going to get into my predictions for the upcoming NBA season, which was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. The East and the West are in two very different stages right now. So when you look at the Western Conference, it's you got a bunch of really solid teams right towards the top, right? You got Nuggets, the Lakers, the Jazz, teams like that. You have very solid teams towards the top of this list. And then on the other side of on the East, you've got your Bucks and your Brooklyn, and then when you get to going down the list, it's a whole lot of teams that are really, when you really think about it, on the same level as far as talent wise. So the East was a lot harder for me to go through than the West was. So we'll start with the West. I did 2 play-in teams and then the top 8 seeds. So for me, the 2 teams that will be borderline making it into the play-in is going to be the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers. The Timberwolves last night, let me give it a quick search real quick. Here's the thing with the Timberwolves. If they're healthy, they're going to be in it. You know, last year, they had spurts last year. They had glimpses last year where they could have been a good team. The Timberwolves could have been. They just haven't been healthy, right? D'Angelo Russell, I don't think played like any of the season last year. If they can get D'Angelo Russell healthy, Anthony Edwards already was averaging 20 points per game as a rookie. Malik Beasley was on and off with injuries last year. I think Malik Beasley could be a really key part. And then Cat, I think he's been up and down, right? He's been injured a little bit. Last night, they had the Rockets, so not the best team. But they beat a team they should have beat, right? D'Angelo Russell, I mean, look at this. Opening night, their big 3 healthy, okay? 30 from Cat, 29 from Ant, 22 from D'Angelo Russell, and then 9 from Malik Beasley, the next leading scorer. That's what I'm talking about. This big 3 in Minnesota has a chance if they can just stay healthy. I mean, that's 2, 4, 6. I mean, that's almost 70 points from their big 3 right there. So they're pretty top heavy. Not a whole lot of depth as far as the rest of the team goes. But I like their chances to at least be messing around with a play-in tournament spot. I think they'll be the best team to not make the playoffs in the West. And then the other team I had kind of floating around that play-in range is going to be the Trailblazers. They didn't do anything to get better this last year. They honestly could have maybe gotten worse this offseason. The Trailblazers have not made any kind of sorts of moves of late recently and stuff, and so they didn't draft well either. They didn't have a first-round pick. They're going to struggle bad this year. Damian Lillard's going to put up 35 a game, and they're still going to lose games. It's going to be rough this year for Trailblazers fans. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, and they'll be borderline a play-in team. So as far as the teams I think will make the playoffs, coming in at the 8th spot is going to be the Grizzlies for me. I think they're still a little bit young, and they're getting there, right? Last year, towards the end of the year, they made kind of a good push, right? And they stole one from the Jazz. I know Donovan Mitchell was out, but they stole one from the Jazz. They have it. They have everything they need. Okay, they've built through the draft really well. They've picked up some pieces in free agency. Dylan Brooks, if Dylan Brooks could do for the entirety of this year, what he kind of did towards the end of the year in the playoffs last year, it's going to be a good team, right? If they have that great talent of Dylan Brooks, plus John Morant, plus Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson's got to stay healthy. He was injured all last year. They've got a chance to make it even maybe be better than an 8 seed, but I'm going to have the Grizzlies at the 8 seed. At the 7 seed, this is a team that could very much just be a play-in team as well, a team that just misses the playoff cut but plays in a play-in. It's going to be the Clippers. I think a Paul George-led team can't do much better than that. Kawhi's going to be out the whole year. And then it's just a whole lot of role players. Tyronn Lue, if you remember last year in the playoffs, did a great job at utilizing all of his talent on the floor. Look for that to kind of be what they do all this year too. I just don't think they have enough firepower. When you get to looking at the teams above them, the other teams have the all-stars that are just going to outduel Paul George. Paul George, I mean, He's not the Paul George he was in Indiana, but the last time Paul George was leading a team was Indiana. And, I mean, he was great then. That's when I was a huge Paul George fan. So, just by himself, though, I don't think... If Reggie Jackson can play anything like he did in the playoffs, I mean, they've got a shot. But I don't think they can get much higher than that just because of the injury to Kawhi. Paul George by himself, I don't think can do it. At the 6th spot, I'll have the Warriors. They were able to upset the Lakers on opening night. Upset the Lakers. They're going to be without Clay for about another month and a half, another 2 months or so. Jordan Poole poured in 22 on opening night. He did what Klay Thompson would do. It's just not the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, he did kind of what a Klay Thompson would do. I just think they lack depth. I think through the first 2 months, Steph Curry is going to carry them. Steph Curry has the ability to carry them to more wins than losses through the first half of the year. Or for these first 2 months of the year, month and a half. Then once Klay Thompson gets back, then they've got Klay, then they've got Steph, then they've got Draymond. And it's back. It's back, baby. It's finally, we've been waiting a really long time for the Warriors to finally come back. And they're finally back. Bielitsa was actually kind of he had a 15-10 game or something like that, maybe like a 15-12 game. He surprisingly looked pretty good. Like I said, Jordan Poole looked really good. They didn't play any of their rookies really all that much. But I like their chances once Klay comes back. So at the 6th spot, I have the Warriors. 5 is going to be the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks can make a bigger jump than this, but I think just the teams above them, they bring more to the table as far as depth and stars-wise. Luka's going to go berserk this year. I think he's going to, you saw what he was able to do in Slovenia, just carrying a bunch of plumbers and carpenters all the way to the Olympics. He's going to have an incredible year. Hopefully, the thing has always been with the Mavericks is just if Kristaps and him could click, they've got a real shot. And if Kristaps can stay healthy, too, because Kristaps can't stay healthy, they have a real shot. They didn't really do much this offseason. I wanted them to get Kawhi Leonard so bad. If they could have got Kawhi Leonard, easy favorites in the West. Easy, because to have a guy like Luka offensively and a guy like Kawhi defensively, that team would have been disgusting. But I think they're just going to... They're going to make a good jump, but the teams above them are just better. They're just better teams. And last year, they realistically should have made the second round last year. Because Luka was going crazy. But like I said, Luka can't have the ball all 42 minutes of the game. He needs somebody offensively that can take the load off of him for a while. And so hopefully Kristaps can stay healthy. At the 4th spot, I'm going to put the Suns. The Suns, I think, with all that I think the Suns last year, and mark my word, were just a one and done team. They were a one-year wonder, one-hit wonder. The Suns, everything aligned last year for the Suns as far as that last year's playoff run went. Everything just aligned. The stars aligned perfectly for the Suns. And I don't think they'll be anything like that last year. There's reports coming out of Suns camp. This is what I said last year during the playoffs. Last year during the playoffs, I said, everyone was going crazy over DeAndre Jordan. He's putting up crazy stats in the finals. This and that. He didn't play great during the regular season. He had a great kind of late push at the end of the season, and then in the playoffs he played all right, because a couple of the teams they played lacked center depth, and so he played well because he was just the biggest guy on the floor. Reports coming out of the Phoenix camp is that DeAndre Ayton isn't getting... They're not talking to him about a contract extension. When you talk about people in his draft class, right? Let me make sure I get the right draft class here. Give me just a second. Because if I'm thinking it's the draft class that he had, and I'm thinking it is. Okay, 100% is. So if you're looking at everybody around him, just the top 5, okay, let's just talk top 5. DeAndre Ayton, of course, was the first pick, okay? And then it was Bags, Luka, Jaren Jackson, Trae Young. Look at this. This side of Marvin Bagley, Luka already got the bag, right? Luka already the face of his franchise. Jaren Jackson just got the bag a few days ago, right? I think he got north of 180 million. Trae Young got the bag, already took his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. You're looking at Luka, Jaren Jackson, Trae Young, Colin Sexton, I don't know if he got the bag, but I know they were talking about it. Mikal Bridges, already made it to a championship. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander already got the bag. Miles Bridges already got the bag. Michael Porter Jr., okay, at 14th pick in his draft class, just got $200 million, okay? So Michael Porter, he already got the bag. Dante DiVincenzo, NBA champion. Grayson Allen, he's on the Bucks now. And then you kind of fall out of it. But so you're looking at that. So we got excuse me, let me make sure I get it right again. So he got Michael Porter just got the $200 million. Miles Bridges already made an NBA championship. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just got the bag. Colin Sexton is gonna get the bag. Trae Young got $200 million. Jaren Jackson right around $200 million. Luka Doncic $200 million. Those guys, I thought it was weird. At the end of last year, those guys got their bags. Those guys were getting the big time contracts, the $200 million contract rookie extensions. And there was nothing about DeAndre Ayton getting that kind of stuff. Nowhere even, this is what I said last year. I said, no one's even been talking to him about contract situations. No one's been thinking about an extension. And I thought it was weird. And then reports coming out this week that the Suns are not looking to extend DeAndre Ayton, which is wild because he hasn't made the jump a Luka has, a Trae Young has, a Michael Porter has, people in his own draft class. Kind of the same thing as a Baker Mayfield situation. He's not being dominant like the other people in just his own draft class. Now, we'll see what kind of happens throughout the course of the year, but he hasn't been great statistically. He hasn't been. His rookie year, he wasn't great. Second year, he got a little bit better. It really wasn't that great. And then people said because of Chris Paul that he was saying that Chris Paul was helping him a lot, was like a big brother to him. He got a little bit better, but we have to see if he can have 18 and 12, average 18, 12, and like a block and a half, 1.8 block. That's solid enough to get the bag, I think. But it's hard with that cap situation over there in Phoenix, I think, as well. I think that has a little bit to play in part with it because they're playing Chris Paul an arm and a leg, Devin Booker an arm and a leg. So it's interesting over there with that cap situation anyways. So with the Lakers, I'm going to put them at the 3 spot. I don't want to believe the hype. I don't want to believe that a super old team can do it. My thing with the Lakers is going to be the regular season. I don't think they're going to stay healthy through the entirety of the regular season. I think that you're going to see a lot of sitting from the Lakers. A lot of guys are going to take time off. Again, it's kind of the same situation that I had with Brooklyn last year. Sorry, give me just a second. Sorry, guys, that has never happened before. That was really weird. Yeah, that was weird. I've never seen that happen before. Okay, sorry about that, guys. The phone was ringing for some reason. Okay, sorry, back on track. So the Lakers, they're kind of in the same situation last year as Brooklyn was, as they aren't going to be healthy for the whole year, but they just need to make the playoffs and be healthy when the playoffs comes, because when the playoffs come, they're going to make damage in the playoffs. The Lakers are old. They need to stay healthy. So they're going to struggle during the regular season, I think. I mean, you already saw it on opening night. They're going to mesh better throughout the rest of the season, but Westbrook, I never thought was a good fit for them. I never thought it was. Even when they initially signed him, I was like, I don't love that fit. I don't like it because Westbrook is a guy that can only really play with one other star, right? When him and Paul George were together, I thought that was a great combination. Great offensive talent, great defensive aggressiveness from the two of them, right? Paul George doesn't have to have the ball, but he can easily play as the number 1 guy, but he can also play just as well as the number 2 guy. So I liked how it fit in OKC. He's going to have good games, right? He's going to have really bad games like he had the other night. He's just not going to be in anywhere close to that same kind of role that he's ever been in this point in his career. He's never had this much talent around him, right? And so I think it's going to be a rough year for Russell Westbrook. I just don't like, it doesn't feel right to me. I just have a feeling in my gut that it's just not going to be enough. LeBron can only do so much, right? As much as I, in the past, have put some hate on LeBron, he's a great player. He's probably going to go down as the greatest all-around player in NBA history. He might even go down as the greatest scorer statistically of all time, which is just crazy to me Not because he's the best scorer of all time, because he's not. Just because he's been averaging 20 points a game for 18 years. That's why he's going to be the greatest player of all time. Or, excuse me, greatest scorer of all time. Not even close to the actual greatest scorer of all time. I can name a whole lot of guys that are better scorers than LeBron James. But he can only do so much, okay? He looked good, right? I'm not even going to cap. He looked pretty solid on opening night. He looked really good shooting the ball. And yeah, it's just going to be interesting to me. LeBron can only do so much. He's getting old. The big thing for the Lakers is 100% going to be Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis can play to his potential, play to his ceiling, right? Play to his ability, the Lakers are going to be legit. I think if Anthony Davis is the key. If Anthony Davis isn't healthy, the Lakers are going to struggle during the regular season. They're going to be, 3 to 6 range as far as the playoff series go. But if Anthony Davis can dominate every night, as he should, right, they're going to be a top 2 seed. Easy. But it all comes down to Anthony Davis. You could tell last year in the playoffs, when they had Anthony Davis against the Suns, they won. When they didn't have Anthony Davis, they struggled really bad. And that's going to be the same case this year. It's all going to come down to Anthony Davis for the Lakers. At the 2 spot, I'm going to have the Jazz. The Jazz are going to be just as good as they were last year. It didn't really lose any key pieces and added some depth. They added Eric Pascal from the Warriors. I think that's a good pickup for them. They didn't lose anybody. I just don't see a reason why they would be any worse than they were a year ago. I guess not a whole lot to talk about then with the Jazz. I don't think they're going to get much worse. And I think the people around they're better than the Lakers, I think, roster-wise. And so that's why I have them above the Lakers. At the 1 spot, I'm gonna put the Nuggets. Hesitantly put the Nuggets. I think they have the best depth of the teams at the top. I think when Jamal Murray comes back, I don't know the time frame on Jamal Murray. He's got to be here probably around Christmas time, like Klay Thompson too. If they are 100, Michael Porter, like Anthony Davis, is going to be key. Michael Porter, we know, can get buckets offensively, but he has got to get it going defensively, okay? The Nuggets, Michael Porter has never showed great talent defensively, right? Last night they were able to beat the Suns, okay? Michael Porter only had 15, he had 15, 6, and 5, so not a horrible performance from Michael Porter. But this is what I'm talking about as far as depth with the Nuggets. Just on opening night, you had 13 from Jeff Green, right, bench player. 10 from PJ Dozier, bench player. Will Barton gets the start. He gets 20. Jokic 27. Aaron Gordon 12. Michael Porter 15. They have so much, guys. Even Monte Morris. He only had 9 last night, but that's a guy that can get buckets. They have a lot of guys that could just get buckets. They played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They went 10 deep last night, and they didn't even play their rookie, Bones Highland. They went 10 deep last night, and almost all 10 guys got buckets. They came in and they just they scored. So I love the depth of the Nuggets. And then once Jamal Murray comes back, I think, easy. They're going to be the best team in the West just because of their depth. And once they get Jamal Murray back, they're going to be a whole nother team. All right, so that's the Western Conference for me. At the 1 spot, I got the Nuggets. At the 2 is the Jazz. The 3 seed will be the Lakers. 4 will be the Suns. 5 will be the Mavericks. 6 will be the Warriors. 7 will be the Clippers. 8 will be the Grizzlies. And the 2 teams that'll be in the play-in hunt will be the Timberwolves and the Trailblazers. All right, about 17 minutes remaining. Kind of talked about these teams in depth a little bit more than I was planning. That's okay, though. So we go with the Eastern Conference now. We'll try to rip through this in about 17 minutes. So 2 play-in teams I got are the Pacers and the Knicks. The Pacers are a team that if I think they could land a star, they would be a lot better of a team. They don't have one solid guy, right? I think Malcolm Brogdon is just in the wrong place. If Malcolm Brogdon was, per se, I'd love it if he was back on the Bucks. But if he was on like a Lakers or if he was on like a Nuggets, that's a perfect fit for a Malcolm Brogdon is a perfect championship roster point guard. but that's it. He don't get me wrong. Malcolm Brogdon has had some great games as a Pacer. He's probably one of their better players, if not their best player for the Pacers. They need help though, as far as Sabonis. He made a playout or the All-Star game last year was an All-Star selection, but they just need a little bit more. They don't have a great defensive presence. Miles Turner is their best. He holds it down in the paint pretty well, but he's still pretty young, still developing offensively. They just a whole lot of guys developing there. I'll tell you something though. I watched their game last night. Chris Duarte from Oregon. They got him at like 14 or 13, 27 and 6 threes last night from Chris Duarte. He was an absolute bucket getter everywhere that Chris Duarte has been. He's just been a bucket getter. When he was at Northwest Florida, he started out in JUCO, went to Oregon, bucket getter everywhere he's been. And last night in his opening night, I don't know how many rookies on their debut have hit 6 threes. Scored 27, let alone hit 6 threes. That's pretty crazy. But they definitely got a steal with him. I definitely thought he should have gone way earlier, and Pacers were able to get a steal with him. He started for them last night over Jeremy Lamb and poured in 27. And like I said, the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks, they didn't get any better, and the Knicks didn't get any better, and the teams above them all got better. All of the 8 teams that I'm saying go into the playoffs all got better. And here's why. For example, Hornets, LaMelo got better. They added Kelly Oubre. Celtics, I'm just saying in no particular order, just the teams above them, right? Celtics added Dennis Schroeder, makes them a little bit better, right? Robert Williams, I think, is going to have a huge breakout year. Robert Williams, mark my words, Robert Williams is going to be a menace this year. The Hawks, they didn't add anybody of significance, but have experience now, and I think are going to take the next step. Trae Young's going to have a big year. The Bucks obviously got better. Giannis is apparently shooting jump shots now. Brooklyn got a little bit worse, but they're obviously better than the Knicks. Let's see. 76ers, I'm going to say got worse, but they didn't. I'm going to say Ben Simmons leaving opens up the door for like a Tobias Harris. Miami gets Kyle Lowry, gets better. Chicago adds all of the big free agents, gets better. So all of the teams ahead of the Knicks got better. They all added pieces to make them legit, not contenders, playoff teams, okay? So that's why I don't have the Knicks making it. They're floating around that 7 to 8, 9, 10 play-in range because the teams above them just got better, significantly better on their rosters. Now, last night they beat that was one of the games I watched last night was the Knicks versus Celtics. They were able to pull out barely in double overtime. They were gassed. If you were able to see that game last night, if not, you can watch the highlights on YouTube. Watch the Knicks and Celtics game last night. Teams were gassed. There was a point where they were just kicking it out, shooting threes, and everyone was just bent over, not even playing defense. It was crazy. They were just so tired. So they were able to pull out a win last night against the Celtics, but it's game 1. All right, getting into the teams that'll make the playoffs here. 13 minutes left. Hornets are going to be my 8 seed. I think the Hornets are going to make the big jump. Adding experience like Kelly Oubre, I think, was big for them. And then I think LaMelo Ball is going to have a monster year. He was going to be my pick for most improved player of the year. I think they kept their core they had a year ago, and their franchise player, their star, is going to got a lot better. LaMelo had 31 last night. He averaged 16, 6, and 6 or something last year. 31, 9, and 7 on opening night from LaMelo. He's going to be huge. He's going to take a big jump this year. It helps a whole lot, though, when Gordon Hayward has 27 too. I just think that the Hornets last year, they should have made the playoffs last year, and then they just kind of fell apart at the end of the year because they were such a young team. They're such a young team that the longness of an NBA season finally just got to them. But this year, I think they're a little bit more experienced, a little bit better. LaMelo Ball's going to have a huge year, and so I think they're going to be floating around that 6 to 8 range. So at the 8th spot, I have the Hornets. 7 is going to be the Celtics. They added Dennis Schroeder to give them a little bit better of a point guard, a younger, better scoring point guard, I think, than Kemba. So I like the Celtics. They got a little bit better, but I just don't think they have enough firepower to hang with the teams above them. Okay, so at the 6th spot, I got the Bulls. Chicago should maybe beat us a little bit higher, but Chicago, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan. I mean, they added Chicago for the first time in a very long time, just went after it, got everybody. I like their chances. I think it's just a great mixture of offense, defense, playmaking. They have everything they need. The only thing I think that the Bulls don't have is just a great defensive big or like an athletic wing. I think that's the only thing they lack is just that athletic wing. You know, some could say maybe it's going to be Patrick Williams, but they have all the pieces. Let's just see how it connects now, right? Let's see. All the puzzle pieces are on the table for the Bulls, but let's see if they can make the puzzle, okay? At the 5, I'm going to have Miami. Miami adds Kyle Lowry, and I think he's a perfect fit for Miami. There's reports, right, that Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry have been friends for a really long time, and they really like the way that each other play. So I like the move for the Miami Heat. I think, you know, when Kyle Lowry is on a championship team, as much as it pains me to say, Kyle Lowry, you know, when they made their championship run, was a baller. You know, he was very good defender, even though he's a smaller guy, very good defender, and he can get buckets at times. So I think it's a pretty big pickup for them, especially because they were so inexperienced as far as their guards went, right? Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, they just lost Goran Dragic. I think they were just lacking in experience and talent, or experience and proven talent in the NBA. So adding a veteran guy with championship experience like Kyle Lowry, I think is pretty big for them. At the 4 spot, I'm going to put the 76ers. I'm going to put the 76ers in kind of the same hole as I had the Warriors in, where Ben Simmons isn't going to play in Philadelphia. I don't think he should play in Philadelphia. He's not going to play in Philadelphia. It's over in Philadelphia for him. The 76ers, Embiid's going to have a Steph Curry type season, okay, where he's going to have heroic, gigantic nights for them to pull out wins. But here's what I was saying just a little bit ago. Joel Embiid he's going to put up monster numbers this year. But I think with Ben Simmons not being there, this is going to open the door wide open for Tobias Harris. Okay, Tobias Harris, if you remember, in his past has been a pure bucket getter. He's been a guy that can definitely put the ball in the basket, and he can be the focal point of the offense. And I think with having Ben Simmons running the offense and trying to get Joel Embiid the ball, it's taken away from the ability of Tobias Harris. It kind of taken away from his talent. I think Tobias Harris is gonna be a great two-man, two Ben Simmons or two Joel Embiid. I think Tobias Harris is gonna have a big year alongside Joel Embiid, but I think they're kind of in that same situation as the Warriors in, where Steph Curry's gonna have to have some big nights for them to win games. So that's why I have them sitting at that 4 spot. This is gonna be my bold move for the NBA season this year. I'm gonna put the Hawks at the 3 seed. They didn't lose anybody and they didn't add anybody of significance. They just got better as far as now they've got the experience. Now they know what it takes. Nick McMillan is a great coach, and Trae Young is in MVP odds. He's in the MVP odds. Nate McMillan's going to be my pick for Coach of the Year. Last year, and what he was able to do in the playoffs was just pure genius as far from a coaching standpoint. So he and the Hawks, I think, are going to take a big leap this year. At the 2 spot, I'm going to put Brooklyn. I think they got worse, even with Kyrie Irving leaving. You can't replace a guy like Kyrie Irving offensively, right? When you lose a guy, for starters, you gotta find people to replace his buckets, right? So he's going to average 18 to 23 points, right, for them on the season. So now you have to find somebody else to average 18. Somebody else doesn't have to average 18 or 20 points, but you got to find people to fill up those 18 to 20 points. And on opening night, it was Patty Mills. Patty Mills, he was 7 for 7 from 3 or something like that, something crazy. He had like 25 or something like that. And so for Brooklyn, I think Kevin Durant and James Harden, just the two of them, is going to be fine. They're going to be those two are going to coincide perfectly together. But losing Kyrie definitely makes them not as talented as a team as they should be. And at the 1 spot, I think it's going to be Milwaukee. Opening night looked amazing. Demolished Brooklyn. They absolutely gave it to the Nets. Giannis still has Brooklyn's number, and Milwaukee got better. They added people. They lost PJ Tucker, but they added Grayson Allen, some other guys. Jordan Nwora, I think he's another guy that's going to have in the Olympics. If obviously probably not that many of you follow the Bucks. Jordan Nwora led, was it Nigeria? I think it was Nigeria, to some pretty big overseas wins this year in the Olympic Games. He was dropping 30 a game. He was having some gigantic games. He got the most playing time of any Buck in the preseason. He's going to have a huge increase in his role this year. He's a bucket getter, pure scorer. And so they're going to try to get him to be a little bit more of a defensive threat, a little bit better of a playmaker. So Jordan Nwora, is going to make some noise this year as well. So I think the Bucks got better. Anytime Giannis gets better, the Bucks get better. Giannis was pulling with confidence, not taking 17 dribbles at the free throw line anymore. I think he went 6 for 8, 7 for 9 at the free throw line, something like that. And then, of course, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, they have everything. I thought it was crazy to me that the Milwaukee got better, and for some reason isn't the favorite. They're the defending champs, got better, and they're still not the favorite? I mean, I know Brooklyn has all that firepower and whatnot, but Milwaukee just won the championship, and they got better. Giannis is apparently looking like he's a whole new man shooting wise, and let's see. He's a whole new player shooting wise, and coming into the year, my prediction is going to be that Milwaukee is going to, run it back, just because they didn't lose anybody that they couldn't replace. And then Brooklyn, losing Kyrie Irving, I think there's just enough firepower in that East to maybe for someone to shock Brooklyn, right? You could, if the playoffs lined out exactly how I have it here, right? Brooklyn would play like a Celtics, right? Like they did last year. They can easily blow past the Celtics, I think. But then you start getting into the later rounds where they maybe play a Miami, maybe they play a 76ers. Those are teams that they could possibly get upset by. So I don't like Brooklyn. I just got to see it a little bit more. NBA is so much different from the NFL, right? Like I can go into an NFL preseason confident in the teams that I like. Sometimes you just got to play it out with the NBA, especially just because a lot of guys could, shock people. A lot of people can make big improvements. So with that being said, my Eastern Conference selections for the playoffs will be at the 1 seed, I have Milwaukee. At the 2 seed, Brooklyn. 3 seed will be the Atlanta Hawks. 4 seed will be the 76ers. 5 seed will be the Miami Heat. 6 seed will be the Chicago Bulls. And the 7th seed will be the Celtics. 8 seed will be the Hornets. And the 2 seeds, the 2 teams looking in and maybe getting into a play-in, will be the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. So that being said, just real quick, I'll run through my expected players or awards for this year. I think Giannis will win MVP again this year. If he can shoot the ball like he is looking pretty confident like he's going to this year, I think he's going to be the most unstoppable player in the world. He had 30, 32, 14, and 7 on opening night. So Giannis, I think, will try to get another MVP this year. My most improved player, I'm going to say, is going to be LaMelo Ball. He averaged 16, 6, and 6 this year. I think easily he can average, 25, maybe like 7, 7.5, and 6.5, something like that. He's going to go way up in his points production. So I think LaMelo Ball is going to be most improved player of the year. I think defensive player of the year, if he's healthy, is going to be Anthony Davis. Coach of the year, like I said, is going to be Nate McMillan. And I still, I couldn't pick 6 man of the year because I didn't really know teams' rotations yet. So I'll get back on 6 man of the year. But I'll pick that. I just didn't know people's rotations as far as they went. Like, I didn't know people like Chris Duarte and Grayson Allen were starting. I didn't know those kind of guys were starting. So I've got to look at rotations a little bit more.